I always thought my mother-in-law, Victoria, was just an overbearing woman who liked to control what we ate for Sunday dinner. I never imagined she was a corporate parasite trying to bleed my family's legacy dry. My father spent 40 years building his logistics and supply chain company from the ground up. It wasn't just a business, it was his life's work, a multi-million-dollar empire built on sweat, integrity, and trust. When I married her son, Julian, I thought I was entering a normal, loving family. But looking back, the signs were always there. Julian was always overly curious about my father's corporate structure, upcoming government contracts, and proprietary software. At the time, I thought he was just trying to show an interest in my life. I was completely blind to the trap being laid around us. The nightmare began to unravel 3 years into our marriage. My father suffered a mild stroke, forcing him to step back from day-to-day operations and appoint me as the acting CEO. It was an incredibly stressful time, but instead of offering emotional support, Victoria and Julian immediately began pushing a very specific agenda. Victoria would casually mention how, overwhelmed, I looked and constantly suggested that I hire some of Julian's distant cousins, old family friends, and associates to help lighten the load. She presented them as highly qualified, loyal individuals who just needed a break. Wanting to please my new family and desperate for trustworthy hands during my father's recovery, I fast-tracked their hiring into various departments, human resources, accounting, and middle management. I thought I was being a good daughter-in-law. In reality, I was opening the gates to a Trojan horse. Over the next year, the company's culture began to rot from the inside out. Highly confidential bids for major shipping contracts were mysteriously being lost to a rival firm, a firm that, unbeknownst to me at the time, Victoria held a massive, hidden financial stake in. Discrepancies started appearing in our financial audits, and crucial client data kept getting leaked. When I tried to investigate, the internal reports from HR and IT always came back clean, claiming it was just technical glitches or external hackers. I was drowning in stress, losing sleep, and relying heavily on Julian. But Julian's behavior had changed. He became cold, dismissive, and gaslit me constantly, telling me that I was incompetent, paranoid, and unfit to run my father's empire. He even began pressuring me to sign over a portion of my shares to him, claiming it would take the burden off my shoulders. The breaking point arrived on a Tuesday evening. I had left my laptop at the office and drove back late at night to retrieve it. The corporate headquarters was supposed to be completely empty, but as I walked down the dimly lit hallway toward the executive suites, I noticed a light shining from the main server room. Silently, I approached the door and peered through the glass panel. Inside were 3 of the employees Victoria had recommended, alongside my husband, Julian. They had a massive external hard drive plugged directly into our main server, downloading our entire proprietary logistics software and 40 years of client data, including Julian openly bragging about how his mother was going to destroy my father's company once the data transfer was complete. My heart shattered, but the sadness instantly hardened into a cold, calculated fury. I didn't confront them right then. I quietly left the building and called a high-profile corporate investigator and a cutthroat divorce attorney that very night. Over the next 48 hours, the investigator uncovered a horrifying truth. Victoria hadn't just planted 3 or 4 people. Over the span of 2 years, she had systematically planted 27 employees across every single critical department of our company. From data entry clerks to senior accountants, every single one of them was secretly on Victoria's personal payroll, acting as corporate spies, altering financial records, leaking bids, and slowly sabotaging our operations from within to drive the company's valuation down so Victoria's rival firm could buy us out for pennies. Armed with ironclad evidence, forensic digital audits, and the video recording, I didn't just file for divorce, I launched an absolute war. 2 days later, I called an emergency all-hands meeting at the corporate headquarters. Julian and Victoria arrived, expecting me to finally capitulate and sign over my shares. Instead, they walked into a boardroom packed with my father's loyal legal team and 4 officers from the white-collar crime division. I stood at the head of the table, looked my husband dead in the eye, and served him with divorce papers. Before he could even speak, the projector screen turned on, playing the video of him stealing data, followed by a spreadsheet detailing the names, roles, and bank transactions of all 27 corporate moles. The look of smug superiority completely evaporated from Victoria's face, turning a sickly pale color. Within seconds, security teams accompanied by police officers moved through every floor of the building. In a synchronized sweep, all 27 planted employees were intercepted at their desks, their corporate access revoked, and their personal belongings seized. The sheer scale of the purge sent shockwaves through the entire corporate district. Julian and Victoria tried to threaten me, claiming they would take half of my father's company in the divorce settlement, but my attorney just laughed. The prenuptial agreement they had signed had a strict infidelity and criminal misconduct clause. Not only was Julian getting absolutely nothing, but they were also facing massive civil lawsuits for corporate espionage and intellectual property theft. The divorce was finalized in record time, setting me entirely free from a family of sociopaths. Victoria's rival firm collapsed under the weight of the legal scandal, and she was forced to liquidate her assets just to pay the damages and legal fees. Julian and his mother are currently facing federal indictments, their reputations permanently ruined. Today, my father is fully recovered, and together, we have completely rebuilt our company, stronger and more secure than ever before. Looking out from my office window, I no longer feel the suffocating weight of betrayal. The moles are gone, the toxic marriage is over, and I finally have my life, my family, and my freedom back.